Dan, thank you. From Tobacco Road to the Bluegrass, this is a sold-out Rupp Arena. Jimmy, for a pivotal SEC game between Florida and Kentucky.
Yeah, from one fantastic atmosphere to another one. Meaningful ball games all across the country today. None more important than right now. Florida and Kentucky right there. Last four in, first four out, projected head-to-head on the same floor tonight. This will be intense, just like that game before us.
Florida's season got a jolt with a home win against second-ranked Tennessee. Last time out, they're on the wrong side of the bubble as of right now, according to Joe Lunardi. A win on the road against Kentucky would do wonders for Todd Golden in his first year in Gainesville. Oscar Tshiebwe with the first of what will probably be many rebounds as we take a look at the starting lineup for Kentucky, brought to you by CDW. Wallace did not start last game for Kentucky. He tweaked his knee in pregame warm-up Tuesday at Ole Miss. He gets to start at point guard tonight. Oscar Tshiebwe's been out there every single game, and he starts off high.
High percentage look for Kentucky, right middle ball screen, throw it up to Oscar Tshiebwe. Good start for 34 in white.
Lineup on the floor for Florida, brought to you by CDW. And Colin Castleton is a guy that does everything for the Gators on the inside. Here's Richard from three, and another board for Tshiebwe.
And Kentucky wants to fly with that ball tonight. Fly with the ball, put pressure on Florida early.
Oscar tracks down his own miss. Best rebounder in college basketball each of the last 2 years. C.J. Frederick passes it off. And now Jacob Toppin from the mid-range. Another rebound for Tshiebwe. Frederick cashes in.
A huge first shot for C.J. Frederick off the relocation three, kick out from Tshiebwe.
Frederick was scoreless Tuesday against Ole Miss. He had missed his last 7 threes over the previous 2 games.
Already putting Oscar Tshiebwe in ball screen defense is Florida. Most teams start off trying to attack Oscar Tshiebwe with that action.
They show double on Castleton, who's a great post passer. It's late in the shot clock. Myron Jones. And Florida imperfect to start, but the rebound gives Jones a look, and no whistle on the drive. Catch the other way. Gators pick it up, and it's stolen by Tshiebwe. He's done everything here in the first 2.5 minutes.
On that Florida defense, top 10 in the country defense efficiency. Tremendous when they get their defense set. They cannot have turnovers tonight and hang in this game.
Gators have started this game 0 for 4. Here's Frederick off the curl, and little leaner, just short. Were the Gators at their best in the half court?
Yeah, going through Colin Castleton, 12 in black, and you're going to move him around. You can run offense through this guy, but can you get him on some rolls just like that? Really well done.
Got inside Tshiebwe. Castleton in this matchup last year went for 23 and 11, but Oscar went for 27 and 14. Classic big man matchup inside. Castleton with the block.
I'm telling you, Castleton protects the rim as well as anybody in college basketball, not just in this league.
Second in the nation in blocks per game. I don't know if this is a matchup we would have had a few years ago in college basketball with 2 big guys like Castleton and Tshiebwe returning to play another year. Nearly stolen from behind by Livingston, and it's off of Castleton, and will be Kentucky basketball.
Yeah, 2 of the best bigs in the land right now going at it. Tshiebwe just does a good job of rolling down the left pipe off that ball screen in the middle of action. And Colin Castleton says, any ball screen you can do, I can do better, with an empty corner finish for Colin Castleton. That is money for the Florida Gators. Castleton rolling on an empty corner.
Here's a Florida takeaway. Gators willing to push, going the other way. Ball got loose, and it's brought down by Chris Livingston, talented freshman.
2 tremendous defensive plays by Wallace at the rim early.
It was a minor knee injury that kept him out Tuesday against Ole Miss, sitting at shoot around that afternoon, and he just kind of tweaked it on his way off the floor. And John Calipari looked at him and said, "You all right? What we got?" And said, "Just, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Just take this one off. There's no reason to push it." And Sabir Wheeler was sensational in his stead. Wallace with the left, another block for Castleton, and that will bring it into the shot clock. Castleton's defense has produced 2 blocks and now a shot clock violation, but Florida's offense is lagging behind early. 24,000 strong and rough. This is the SEC on ESPN. Kentucky and Florida, two of the top half of the SEC standings, and two teams sitting firmly on the bubble. Kentucky, as of now, according to Joe Lunardi, is in, but barely in. Florida among the first four out. With that, we welcome you courtside. Tom Hart alongside Jimmy Dykes. What a day of college hoops.
Yeah.
You think this may be the most pivotal game of the day?
Well, I do, because we've had a lot of ranked versus ranked teams. Teams that are just now jockeying for position in the NCAA tournament. Not Kentucky and Florida. They're in that group right now that's going to be measured against one another on February the 4th. A massive, massive opportunity for Florida to get one on the road. And for Kentucky, you can't lose at home right now. These are two programs that are proud, man. They've had deep runs, national championship banners hung. Not the position they normally are in on February.
Let's take a look at tonight's Need to Know, brought to you by T. Rowe Price. And this is the gauntlet that Florida is in the middle of with first-year head coach Todd Golden.
Yeah, if you can win two of those three if you're Florida, man, what a stretch you had, because you only have limited opportunities left after that gauntlet in SEC play.
They put a second back on the shot clock after that Castleton block, but Kentucky was unable to cash in.
Well, a lot of middle ball screen for Tshiebwe to cover early in this game.
Kentucky has been deficient at that all season long. It was really exposed by Alabama in that blowout in Tuscaloosa, but everybody has taken advantage of it.
Tom, I will say this: Kentucky tags really hard on anybody rolling to the rim to help Tshiebwe. As a result of that, Florida should have some open three-point shots tonight in this game. And
that tag comes from a help defender.
Absolutely, and now you're in a bind.
Here's Toppin, got it deep, but couldn't convert. And a loose ball, chased down by Kentucky. Livingston went on the floor for it. Toppin's floater. Oscar, another rebound. John Calipari said this is a Florida defense that wants to take away the three. They'll give us the mid-range, and we're good with that. Toppin strokes in a triple.
We got Colin Castleton on a short closeout saying, Toppin, go ahead and shoot it. You've only made three in conference play, and Toppin says, I'll take it.
One of the ways Florida was able to knock off second-ranked Tennessee on Wednesday was outrunning the Volunteers. It was 10-0 in fast break points. Xavier Wheeler in the game for Kentucky. He had a monster effort playing on a sprained ankle in the second half against Ole Miss on Tuesday night.
If you're Florida and Tshiebwe takes wood twos in this game, means he's taking jump shots from the wood, not the paint, you've done your job defensively.
Conversion made and a foul charged to C.J. Frederick. They will count the bucket.
Like Wheeler drive that ball and get the defense to converge, and then throw back to Toppin. And Castleton not only with a short closeout, but no hands high to take away any vision of Toppin. And there's Reeves, who has struggled shooting the ball from distance, doesn't settle early in this game, and takes it hard to the rack.
Macon, Georgia native, makes it a three-point play. Frederick to the bench. Antonio Reeves replaces him at that shooting guard position. Reeves was a revelation against Ole Miss.
Tom, defending Kentucky with both Reeves and Frederick on the floor is so much different than just one of those guys on the floor. A lot of crowded possessions for Kentucky when there's just one shooter.
Livingston 36% from three, but doesn't shoot a lot of them, is off the mark. Castleton's had a hard time making an impact on the offensive end here early on. Fudge kicks it back out. They show a double. Toppin, and a double comes from the baseline, and a near steal, and an up and down, and a Florida turnover.
And Kentucky doesn't double a lot, and Coach Cal talked today that we have it in our back pocket to just disrupt Colin Castleton. Those are his two keys to the game: fly up the floor offensively and bother Colin Castleton. A little bit of a fake double by Toppin, but bam, there's it coming strong on that baseline double by Livingston. Just chews up Colin Castleton, who's a very, very good passer.
Castleton leads Florida in points, rebounds, and assists. Also blocks in there, but he's such a key to how they run their offense.
A high usage rate is 12 in black. Castleton continues to just drop coverage off of Tshiebwe in the half court. As a result of that drop coverage by Tshiebwe, or by Castleton, Kentucky will get, Tom, a lot of 12 and 15-foot jump shots in this game.
That should play into the hands of Toppin and even Oscar, who's become much more proficient.
Yeah, Reeves can make him. Frederick can wrap a screen and make a 15-footer.
Xavier Wheeler had 6 assists in the second half when they needed him the most. Wallace was out with a knee injury, and Wheeler had turned his ankle.
What a find.
Toppin slams it home.
What a forceful drive and finesse find by Oscar Tshiebwe. Hard combination to come up with when you're 6'9" and 245.
Gators just 2 for 9 from the floor. Reeves gets down the lane but can't finish, and they'll get a whistle on Jacob Toppin. Oscar Tshiebwe sharing the basketball.
Well, he averages about 1 assist per game, but that's a really good finesse find by Tshiebwe, who's a power athlete that doesn't fire a fastball so fast that Toppin can't handle it. I love the fact that Toppin cuts, showing his hands to Tshiebwe. That action, they are connected really well right now, whether it's a high-low or finding each other off of cuts.
So another chance at the free throw line for Reeves. And he knocks the first one down. This incredible day of college basketball continues on ESPN. We'll take it to Moraga, California. St. Mary's plays host to Gonzaga. That is Todd Golden's alma mater. He was a great shooter playing for Randy Bennett really not that long ago. And Reeves makes another one.
Talking to Sean Farnham today, who's going to do that game. He said you got to keep an eye on St. Mary's. They can go through scoring droughts, and that's not something you want to have heading into play against Gonzaga, right?
Gamble, and it ends up in Tshiebwe's hands.
And a massive gang rebounding by Florida on the defensive glass has to continue the entire ball game.
Kentucky, one of the best rebounding teams in the country. They've doubled up the Gators in that category so far tonight. Reeves, and that was a concern for Todd Golden against Tennessee, but their second and third shot defense was exceptional. Toppin, no good, and rebounded by Alex Fudge.
I just think it's too quick. Toppin is not a high percentage three-point shooter out of trail 3 position.
And Castleton aggressive that time, Jimmy.
Well, he has to be. And you want to, if you're Castleton, you want to be patient, but not conservative.
He told me today he was really looking forward to this matchup with Oscar tonight.
Oh,
big time block by Fudge. Well, he got up quick. Castleton said, I got a chip on my shoulder. I've had it my entire career. I love playing against the best. And in addition to that, he said, I know what kind of person Oscar is off the court. That means a lot to me. I can't wait to compete. 2 of the best bigs in the league.
Yeah, and 2 of the best people that we have in college basketball, both Tshiebwe and Colin Castleton. Cats up early.
First-year Florida head coach Todd Golden was a fantastic player at St. Mary's, originally a walk-on. Helped lead Randy Bennett's squad to a couple of NCAA tournament appearances. He was a gunner, make no mistake about it. Yeah, he had a lot of assists, but 94% of his makes his senior year came from three-point land. Now, Florida has had great history, Jimmy, hiring young coaches. Back in 1996, they hired a 30-year-old by the name of Billy Donovan, and that worked out pretty well for him.
Yeah, this guy has a brilliant, brilliant mind for the game of basketball, and he has built this foundation defensively. I talked about them being top 10 defensive efficiency, and their 2-point defense on the year, 43%, is 7th in the nation. They are tight inside that 3-point line. He doesn't look tough, Todd Golden, but he coaches a tough brand of ball.
Both Florida and Kentucky 6-3 in SEC play. They're both coming off of key wins. Kentucky's kind of figured its season out after a home loss to South Carolina, and Florida coming off of a win against number 2 Tennessee. Alex Fudge with the foul. That's his first, and Cason Wallace will go to the free throw line.
I mentioned Todd Golden's 2-point defense. He refers to that as the line of scrimmage. I talk about line of scrimmage, ball screen defense, because there's so much ball screen offense being run. Like, who wins that part of the game kind of determines the line of scrimmage in football. Has a big part of it in basketball, but I mean, his mind, how he thinks it, how he sees it, how he talks with his guys, it's easy to grasp and understand.
Well, the best defenses out there, 11th in the country in field goal percentage defense.
Florida doesn't always shoot straight, and they have to take great shots, Tom, because they don't go to the offensive glass. Florida does not. They might send one, normally a 2 or 3 offensive rebounds per game, and Cal knows it. Rip that ball off the glass and run tonight every time we get a chance.
You saying if it was Florida's job to shoot down the Chinese spy balloon, would it still be floating?
Well, I know this. If it was Tennessee and Auburn's job to shoot down the balloon today, that balloon would still be flying.
Tennessee able to hold on. Here's Collins just into the game against Castleton, and he is able to draw the foul. Damian Collins only played 2 minutes Tuesday night against Ole Miss, and John Calipari could not have been happier with his production. His father passed away early in the season. He struggled mentally. He dropped 16 pounds when he was away, and he wanted to give him an opportunity again tonight.
Yeah, you want to impact the game when you come in, do something defensively, and a good job of shooting that passing lane. And now with Collins on the floor, it will be an automatic double team on Colin Castleton because he just doesn't have the strength to hold up one-on-one against 12 in black.
This is only his 3rd free throw attempt in SEC play. Collins, sophomore out of small town Atlanta, Texas. A 5-star recruit.
Well, whatever you are, be great at it. And what is Damian Collins? He's just a run and jumping athlete and impact the game with those type of plays. Don't run plays for him. Just let him make plays like he did.
I mentioned Gators having a hard time shooting straight. 2 for 11 from the floor to start this game. Castleton trying to rip on Collins, and he drew the foul.
That's going to be a really tough match for Damian Collins, not only on the low block, Tom, but up around that elbow area, because Castleton is just as fast, if not faster, and much stronger. Watch the isolation for Castleton against Damian Collins. Just a little bit of a ball fake, and Collins' hips move, and Colin Castleton just rips it right down that left side.
Foul was charged to Chris Livingston, and Castleton to the free throw line. Seventh in the league in scoring, 8th in the league in rebounding, one of the nation's best shot blockers. Castleton has been around for a while. This is his 5th year after he started his career at Michigan. He said, I play with emotion because I always feel like I have something to prove.
Yeah.
Jimmy, sometimes that emotion works against him, but for the most part, he's been a leader for this Florida program.
Yeah, you got to have a guy with a chip, and he certainly has one.
Interesting offensive lineup out here for Kentucky right now with Tshiebwe not on the floor. Reeves was their leading scorer against Ole Miss. Wallace went around Castleton and got it in.
And Castleton was in drop coverage, so he just had one step to get to Wallace. Wallace so strong and so quick, Tom, to get the ball on the glass.
Reeves around the screen, couldn't get it to Castleton, pulls up. And C.J. Frederick the rebound.
That is not the shot that Kowacie Reeves needs to be taken in this game.
Reeves can't quite finish, and Castleton pulls it down. Florida's last field goal, Jimmy, came at the 14:04 mark.
Kentucky has really covered up any back cut action so far by Florida in this game.
And that was a physical, literal tag as Wallace came in to find Castleton.
Watch Cason Wallace in the last possession. He goes one-on-one ISO. But Castleton just sitting there waiting. And Cason Wallace, again, so quick and so strong to get the ball out of his paws on the glass. Castleton cannot get there in time to affect it.
Castleton blocks nearly 10% of the twos that are taken when he's on the floor. That's one of the best block rates in the country. Here's Myron Jones. And the Gators just won for their last 8.
Again, Kentucky's off-ball defense has been airtight, not allowing Florida to burn the pressure off with back cuts and get easy looks.
Here's Reeves with the floater.
That's the shot I'm talking about. You're going to drop coverage and allow guys to turn the corner of the elbow. Kentucky is dynamic at making those 12 to 15-foot shots off the pull-up or the floater.
Tshiebwe with the near steal. Gators get it back. It feels like danger zone for Florida right here. It's been over 5 minutes since they made a field goal. Castleton. And a rebound kept alive by the Gators with their second offensive rebound. Challenge shot again. Kyle Lofton at the rim comes up short.
3 takeaways by Kentucky at the rim already defensively in this game.
Here's Oscar. Mismatch with Richard on. Goes right into him, and that's an offensive foul on Oscar Tshiebwe.
And Rupp Arena says that's a flop. Does the contact equal the defensive play? And Richard moves his feet. That's a pretty good shoulder now. That's why. Here's why that's called. When the contact is made with a lowered shoulder by the offensive player 9 out of 10 times, that's the call that's going to be made.
Knocked out of bounds by Wallace, and it will stay with Florida.
Tom, every pass, especially every dribble handoff, Kentucky really challenging, trying to blow stuff up.
Jason Tshiebwe into the game for Florida, giving Castleton a spell before the media timeout. Lofton lost it. Frederick found it. Kentucky with a chance to push. No numbers, no matter. Frederick finishes. It'll be at the free throw line when we return. C.J. Frederick slow to get up.
The foul is on Jones. That's his first at the team's foul.
Jones with the foul, and C.J. Frederick went into a courtside cameraman. And immediately the athletic training staff out to check on the Kentucky senior. There is a timeout on the floor. When we return, C.J. Frederick will be at the free throw line for Kentucky if he's able to stay in this game. Cats have a 10-point lead. Another look at C.J. with the finish, and right into your living room. Here's another look at what C.J. Frederick went through on that last play. First, Jimmy, he came up with the steal, and then he was full throttle getting to the basket.
Yeah, and Kentucky's going to play all gas, no breaks tonight when they get that ball defensively. They want to put pressure on Florida's defense in transition. Frederick takes a hard fall. Came up kind of rubbing the right side, just chest area. Tough kid. Has not shot the ball well from 3. 5 out of 26 in the last 5 games, but he is a fighter and a winner at his core above everything else.
Talking with John Calipari today, he said we want to have chances to run and take them. Why is that so important for Kentucky tonight?
Well, because Florida's half-court defense, Tom, it's really solid. Schematically, it's good. They fight, they dig in, they don't gamble, they make life tough on you to run half-court offense. So when you have a numbered break, and if you're Kentucky, you force the numbered break tonight as much as you can. So far, so good.
Gators held Tennessee to just 28% shooting in their win Wednesday night, the second #2 team to go down in the O-Dome in as many seasons. They beat Auburn at home last year. Here's Frederick. Let's see if he's bothered by that right side and gets good extension. Yeah, he's a shooter. That's what he does.
Well, what Tennessee lacks is a guy that can go by you and get in the lane and make plays. And Kentucky has a couple of guys that can do it. So this is a different cover tonight for Florida.
Nice back cut and a beautiful finish. Gators found one out of the timeout.
That is what Todd Golden does out of timeouts. He will burn that pressure off somewhere with an isolation back cut. Well done.
First bucket for Kyle Lofton, St. Bonaventure transfer. Wallace got a half step, and he's able to finish.
Yeah, Tshiebwe just too late. And he's not at all the rim protector that Castleton is.
A huge difference. And John Calipari said we'll attack the Gators big man different on the offensive end as well when they go Tshiebwe instead of Castleton, who's ready to check in at the next whistle. Little crossover, and Toppin found the rebound. Here's Reeves. Well, this is the lineup that theoretically, Jimmy, gives Kentucky the best spacing on the offensive end.
Yeah, without a doubt, especially in transition. You get Frederick running one lane and Reeves running the other, and Tshiebwe running to the rim. A lot of pressure to cover.
Bonham can't cash it in. Here's Wallace. He's got a full head of steam.
Man, just outrunning Florida, right? between Frederick and Case and Wallace.
Largest lead of the game for the Cats at 13.
Tom, if you're not going to crash the offensive glass and you're Florida, you've got to be in full sprint mode as a shooter rises up. You're not only not getting offensive glass, you're getting outworked in your transition defense. That's a bad combo.
Contested three rattles home, and they needed that one come out of the hand of Will Richard, who hit a couple against Tennessee Wednesday.
Yeah, cannot let Will Richard have airspace because he's seen a really good rim right now in conference play from that three-point line, over 40%.
Good hands, knocked away. Toppin recovers. Richard giving him a boost on both ends. Florida waiting for a line change. You see Castleton and company waiting to check in at the next whistle, but they've been sitting there a while. Tshiebwe, mid-range. Kugel, the freshman with the spin, and a beautiful finish at the rim.
I'm telling you, the kid is a pro athlete with all the measurables, learning to become a good college basketball player. He's got an extra gear, an extra spark for a 6'5" guard.
Kentucky takes the timeout, and that'll give Florida a chance to get Castleton and company back in this game. 24-16, Cats with the lead.
Toughest thing to do in college ball, Tom, is to delete the drive and get in front of the ball and stop it. There's what I'm talking about with Florida in transition defense. They're running from behind and not sending guys to the offensive glass, something Todd Golden's got to get on top of. There's that pro spin move I'm talking about by Kugel. He's all up 6'5", and one of the better pure athletes in the freshman class in this league.
Todd Golden has played a couple of different lineups, but he's been starting Kugel over the last 5 games now. So Xavier Wheeler with the mid-range.
Just keep taking it. Keep running the middle ball screen. Castleton needs to be in drop coverage. Take all the 15-footers you can get in this game.
Castleton directing the offense. He's a little bit out further than normal, where he likes to operate off that high post.
Yep. Two-man game Castleton loves.
Richard got bumped on the jumper, and he'll go to the free throw line. That was late in the shot clock.
The foul is on Reeves. That's his first of the team's foul.
First on Antonio Reeves. And Richard at the free throw line, sophomore out of Fairburn, Georgia. Started his college career at Belmont. And got another one coming his way. We got a huge women's basketball triple header for you tomorrow on ESPN2 and the app. Deja Kelly, number 11, North Carolina, square off against Haley Van Lith in Louisville in her first game at noon. Then Angel Reese, an undefeated and third-ranked LSU, take on Texas A&M. And we cap it with a Big Ten matchup between Taylor Mikesell and number 10 Ohio State, Diamond Miller, and 8th-ranked Maryland.
But LSU set a record earlier this week, right? Over 15,000.
Yeah, packed the PMAC on a whiteout night. Came out to see Kim Mulkey's undefeated squad.
Castleton circling the post on Tshiebwe, not just playing behind, giving 34 and white different looks.
He wants it. Tshiebwe, quick release. He is just 1 for 8 from the floor.
What I love about Castleton, he's a 6'11" guy, but he doesn't get lazy and just play from behind and throw up a wall. In constant movement, constant motion, circling the post, making life difficult on Tshiebwe.
Richard had Castleton, and Castleton was frustrated he didn't get a touch. There's good movement.
Clear out space.
Frederick came from the weak side, and he's able to make him pay.
That's what I'm talking about. Be patient, but not conservative. Really good job by Colin Castleton in both areas.
Off the mark, Castleton the rebound. Now we're starting to see some of that emotion from big number 12.
Yes.
Gators have made their last 3.
Middle ball screen again, Tom, and Tshiebwe doesn't come off the ball at all. Turn the corner layup.
Kyle Lofton with his second bucket. Florida's closed within 4.
It's amazing to be this deep into the season and Tshiebwe still continues to struggle with ball screen coverage.
Kentucky's had to simplify a lot of their ball screen coverage just to try to make it work. Here's Reeves. That's short. And Oscar fighting for it, picks up the foul.
Another tough wood 2 attempt from Reeves. Watch Colin Castleton right here. He's going to catch it. Let the traffic clear with a cut. Now be patient. Survey it. Boom. Really well done. Patient, but not conservative. He's too important.
Mike Casey thinks what a day in college basketball. The third time this year the AP's number 1 and 2 lost in the same week. So if you ever wanted to climb inside Jimmy Dykes' head on a college basketball Saturday, well, we shared the tweets that he sent throughout the day. This is kind of the text that he sent today. This is just kind of a stream of consciousness for you.
Yeah, I sent this on our group text message. Iowa State loses Saturday at Mizzou, then crushes Kansas today. It's going to be a crazy March. And then Auburn, Tennessee, the good thing they were not in charge of shooting down the balloon. The balloon would still be floating. That was a 46-43 game. And then I agree with Fonz. He made a great point today on game day this morning that it's hard to win a national title without pro guards. And you look at those 2 freshmen today in that ball game, although it was on the road, they struggled a little bit. And then at 6:38, I sent the text, what time is our game? It's very important to know that.
At least you had a short walk over from the hotel. And by the way, Kentucky's been doing that lately. Before the A&M game, there's Castleton, and he can't hit the bunny. And a loose ball crowd by Toppin. A few weeks ago, John Calipari said we used to do it at Memphis all the time. Get rid of distractions, stay in the hotel, walk down for shoot around, walk back, maybe get a nap, get a bite to eat, and then show back up, trying to streamline their line of thinking.
Yes, well, we had a shoot around at Rupp every single time when I was an assistant coach for Eddie Sutton here back in the 80s. And Cal has just now gone back to it, and I think he likes it.
Toppin with the left hand.
He is such a good downhill driver, is Toppin, Tom, because he's 6'9", and his first step, bam, it is explosive, it is long, it is hard to guard.
Wheeler trying to pick up in the backcourt, commits his first.
Why would Wheeler foul in the backcourt? I'm just not a fan of him picking up, and a lot of times he gets beat. There's that big first step. That time is the second step, actually. They got the separation, but he can go down both pipes with equal hand and equal finish ability.
And a costly foul, because with Florida in the bonus, Kyle Lofton goes to the free throw line. 84% on the season from the stripe. And misses the front end. Damian Collins with the rebound. Collins and Toppin on the floor at the same time, with Tshiebwe struggling from the floor and with his second personal foul.
This will be floppy action for Frederick. Yeah, and you got to hold him. He's such a hard cutter, Frederick is, and he cuts in different speeds.
Explain floppy action.
Well, you're going to have a big on both sides of the lane for Kentucky, widened out a little bit. Everybody runs it. It's really good action. And you can wrap it. You can bump yourself to a corner 3, but Kentucky has ran it time and time again. They're not afraid to go to it off of a baseline out of bounds under.
And does C.J. Frederick have shooter's choice which way he wants to go?
He can go either way, yeah.
Off the mark with that attempt, and the rebound corralled by Florida. Push ahead to Richard. And a step through, but he lost it. And it's off of his knee, and will go back to the Cats with 1:13 remaining in the half.
Todd Golden say, where is the foul? Felt like his guy got pushed from behind. I'm not so sure he doesn't have a good argument. Watch Richard coming, and I thought Frederick got his hand in the back that threw Richard off a little bit and got hacked on the arm.
And Todd Golden has not been happy with some of the whistles so far tonight.
He felt like Kentucky had the pressure on them tonight, and his guys were playing free.
Yep. He said, listen, we're going to already have a win against number 2. We're on the road. Playing at Kentucky brings a ton of pressure. Toppin spins and finishes.
See what I'm saying about how he can go either hand, and he's tremendous starting left and spinning back to his right.
2-minute scoring drought for the Gators. Here's Reeves. And another board for Toppin.
And another bad shot by Kawasi Reeves.
Frederick open. Knocks down his second.
It never fails. The bad shot bone is connected to the bad transition defense bone. It never fails.
On their feet at Rupp. Cats with an 11-point lead. Six. Little floater with 3. That's short. And that will bring an end to the half. Kentucky's season was on the brink just a couple of weeks ago, but a 7-0 run here for a team that's won 4 of its last 5. Maybe a slow half for Tshiebwe, but others picking it up for Kentucky. 9 points for Jacob Toppin, going either way for the senior from Brooklyn. And C.J. Frederick shooting his way out of a slump. Cats with the lead at the half. Let's get you to the studio. Here's Kevin Connors. From a packed house at Rupp Arena, we welcome you back to the SEC on ESPN. Pivotal game for a couple of teams that are hoping to move off the bubble and firmly in the NCAA tournament. And Kentucky, after a hot start, saw Florida climb back in this game. We've got an 11-point game at the half. Welcome courtside. Tom Hart alongside Jimmy Dykes. Not your typical game heroes here through one half.
Now for Kentucky right now, Tshiebwe goes out the last 2.5 minutes with foul trouble, and Kentucky finishes the half on a 7-0 run. So it's other dudes tonight, Tom Hart, that are getting it done for the Kentucky Wildcats. Good balanced scoring. It starts with the ability of Toppin to drive the ball with both hands, spin, finish. He's been aggressive and a forceful driver. Wheeler gets a piece of the paint, and Frederick, bam, no hesitation. One and white sticks one. He's made 2 threes already, and Case and Wallace getting out in transition as well. Those 3 guys have kind of carried the wood for Kentucky. Tshiebwe 1 for 8. Reeves has only had 2 points, or 2 leading scorers in conference play. That's a sign of a strong team winning tough games when your best players aren't at their best.
Meanwhile, Colin Castleton on the Florida side leading them, but with only 6 points, 2 buckets and 2 free throws to this point. Tshiebwe and Castleton each had big games in their matchups last year. Tshiebwe and Castleton with the block. They went immediately to him. And one big versus another, and the Gator had the answer.
You knew how hard it is to block that drop shot of Oscar Tshiebwe when he pivots low. It's almost impossible, and Castleton got it, and he got it clean.
149th meeting between these 2 longtime rivals, and the first of 2 this season. They'll meet again a week and a half down in Gainesville. 3 ball off the mark, and Oscar's got a rebound. That part never disappears. That's his 8th board of the night. Wallace looking for Tshiebwe, going right back at him, and too strong that time.
Again, Colin Castleton recovers with length and bothers Tshiebwe, who gets it too high on the glass.
Castleton, great distributor. Good ball movement, and Gators still can't find a shot. Here's Richard. Oh, Castleton had to come right to him.
Kentucky got in a defensive rotation, and therefore they were out of sync when that ball got on the glass. So important for Florida to come out the first 3 or 4 minutes and get back in this game.
Here's C.J. Frederick, shot the ball well, and his lob to Tshiebwe was redirected by Castleton. Then an open floor foul will go against Case and Wallace.
Here's what I'm talking about. Tshiebwe has an angle and has a drop step to the basket, and Castleton is just so good at keeping his feet alive and not jumping too early and jumping where the ball is as opposed to reaching to it. That's what Castleton can do, man. He is so effective on both ends of the game. He's one of those guys that impacts at a high level both ends.
It's an 86-inch wingspan. He already has 3 blocks in this game. He's blocked 4 shots or more 11 times this season. Through his hands to Richard. The Gators' shooting woes continue.
Those are the ones you have to make because you're hard tagging Kentucky as Castleton. Florida's got to make some threes in the second half to get back in it.
Livingston got cut off. And the loose ball rebound fought for by Livingston, but knocked it out of bounds. Cats 0 for 3 to start the half on the offensive end. Gators not much better, just 1 for 4. Nice look inside. Richard around Tshiebwe.
Really good job by Richard. It's hard to out second jump Oscar Tshiebwe like Richard did.
Wallace with a burst. Tshiebwe the rebound, and he muscles it in.
Struggled in the first half. What was he, 1 out of 7, 1 out of 8? Tshiebwe was, yeah. If you keep him away from the rim, talking about Florida guarding Tshiebwe, you've done your job. And does he bite on those jump shots?
Castleton only 2 made threes all season. And Tshiebwe saved it right to the Gators. The finger roll is good. And Florida once again eating into the lead.
And the long arms of Richard was so important on that play because he got to the ball just in time before the block shot came into play.
Good strip by Richard to dig down. Toppin with Oscar the assist.
Active, is he not? Toppin tonight?
Yep. Comes from a basketball family. You know about his brother. Obviously, his dad, a New York City playground legend, goes by Dunker's Delight. What was your nickname on the playground?
Next. No, you got the next game.
Castleton into double figures. Not a great pass from Wallace.
No, it's a horrible pass. Below the knee level of Tshiebwe on the roll. Talked about Florida need a good start. They got one.
Yeah, indeed. Well, hardly anybody saw the loss that Kentucky had in the postseason last year to St. Peter's. One man did. We'll tell you Oscar's story and how his faith plays a role in his everyday life. Continue from Rupp after this. Tonight's Wendy's Wooden Watch, focusing on Oscar Tshiebwe, the Wooden Award winner last year. Numbers very similar to what he put up last year. And one thing that never changes with Oscar Tshiebwe is his faith. Tom Hart alongside Jimmy Dakes. Jimmy, you know this. Oscar celebrates his faith daily, and he talks to God daily. Now, going into the postseason last year, he had a premonition before the NCAA tournament, and the premonition was God spoke to him and said, there's going to be a tragedy with your team. He was so aware of that he refused initially to get on the plane to Indianapolis, and he told the coaches, I can't get on that jet. Eventually, and he even offered to take the bus. Eventually, they calmed him down. They said, you can get on the plane. Everything's going to be just fine. And once everything was fine from a traveling perspective, he realized that the message God was giving him wasn't about travel and some great tragedy in the air. The tragedy was what would happen on the basketball court, and that he would be the lone survivor in that situation. Now, of course, he went for 30 and 16 against St. Peter's. He said, I tried to tell my teammates, God is telling me this is a dangerous situation. We need to pray to him and find answers. They didn't find it that day, but he's one that lives that daily. So much so saying that, you know, God has asked me to pray for John Calipari, and I tell him, and sometimes he just kind of waves me off.
Well, yeah. There's not a more genuine, real faith guy in college ball than Oscar Tshiebwe. And he uses his stage like he feels like God has called him to use it. I talked to him earlier this fall. I said, what were you feeling at the end of that ball game against St. Peter's when you collapsed on the floor at the top of the key? And he said, I was just telling myself, God, this is not how you want me to end my career. He's back and chasing the national championship for Kentucky is what he talked about the entire offseason.
You imagine the panic that went through the coach's office here in Lexington when the National Player of the Year said, I can't get on that plane.
Yeah. You got to get there somehow.
Second foul on Toppin. In that first round game against St. Peter's, he shot 69% of the floor, had 16 boards and 30 of the team's 79 points.
Just a huge, genuine heart for Big Blue Nation. He will go down as one of the most beloved Wildcats ever. Lost his edge a little bit this year. Just 5 or 6 weeks ago, and Cal called him out on it, got him back in the gym, and has been a force ever since. His numbers right now are not too far off from what he had last year.
Yep.
That National Player of the Year. Just a guy named Shaq Edey is carrying that trophy away right now in front of everybody.
Edey had 33 and 18 in Bloomington today, and Purdue lost. The 5th time this year he's had at least half of Purdue's made field goals. 5th time. Very Oscar-like.
And why Zach Edey is not showing up on any NBA projection draft picks is beyond me. I know he doesn't fit the ideal NBA 5-man. As Toppin again drives that basketball through the nail and wins that part of the floor. And I'm telling you, if I'm a GM, I'm going to gamble. They miss all the time in their evaluations. Miss on a dude that's 7'4", 300, that's unstoppable around the rim.
Gators shooting 50% from the floor this half. Castleton off the mark, and he's frustrated.
They are running guys at Castleton no matter where he is with his touch. What a push.
Wheeler off the window.
That's that acceleration push that Wheeler can give you a couple of times a ball game. Todd Golden's transition defense is back to what it looked like in November, December before he got it corrected. He's got to get that defense set.
There's the double. Castleton can only get out of it by kicking it to Lofton, and he's able to use every bit of it for three, and Todd Golden takes a quick Florida timeout.
You have got to make threes in this ball game when Castleton gets doubled. He's a 6'11" point guard with his back to the basket. He finds a shooter on the backside, and Florida hangs in the game.
Touching moment at halftime today when Mike Pratt's number 22 became the 45th retired jersey in Kentucky basketball history. Jimmy, they raved it in the rafters. They put it right next to his teammate and buddy Dan Issel, not just a great basketball player, but for 21 years, a member of the Kentucky radio crew.
He gave a big part of his life, man, to Kentucky basketball. Think about this. There's only 2 Kentucky players in the history that are in the top 30 in both points, rebounds, and assists. Mike Pratt and Goose Gibbons. And Mike Pratt is beloved as any Kentucky Wildcat to ever put on that Wildcat jersey.
His wife Marcia in front of the jersey on the court. There's so many great Mike Pratt stories. We had great experiences with him. Remember just last year having breakfast with him in the hotel before the Alabama game. And True Blue Customs helped out and kicked in some special shoes for guys like Jim Barnhart and Deb Moore, who was so close to Mike. One of the best stories came from February 1970. Kentucky was in Oxford to play the Rebels the next day. SEC towns were dry back then, so the trainer would travel with a lot of booze so head coach Adolph Rupp could entertain all the dignitaries and boosters. Well, the trainer left his room. Mike Pratt went in there, stole a 6-pack, and said, Coach Rupp is buying us a beer tonight. The trainer came in their hotel room because he knew that Pratt was the one who took it, searched everywhere. Pratt had hid it in the back of the toilet. They took advantage of that, and by the way, his roommate the next day, Dan Issel, school record 53 points and 19 rebounds a day after Adolph Rupp bought him a beer.
Yeah, how about that?
To him.
John Calipari told us today he may not be the head coach here right now if it were not for Mike Pratt, because he was in the room in the initial conversation that Kentucky had with Cal, and he said he looked over and saw a guy that had worn the uniform, coach here, played for Coach Rupp, and said, "You're our guy," and Cal said, "I will be."
Xavier Wheeler converts.
Again, that transition defense, Florida just not determined to sprint, find the ball, point, talk, and shut it down.
Myron Jones trying to penetrate. They just can't get Castleton free on that screen, and Reeves off the mark. Florida now 3 for 13 from 3.
I'm just not in love with the shot selection by Kowacie Reeves in this ballgame tonight for Florida. Every possession is magnified in a game like this. Can't waste a.
Frederick now wasting them. That's his 3rd 3 of the game, Jimmy. He was 0 for 6 coming in.
Yeah, but the release is true. Now he's been playing with a broken finger, but he's just so good, Tom, off that pin down action, running to his left shoulder, turning into his shot.
It was the first game in some time that he doesn't have that right hand and that finger taped. Castleton over Oscar.
You can get that on Oscar because he's a below-the-rim rebounder. He's a below-the-rim defender. And Castleton just beat him over the top. Kentucky's offense is best tonight not running through Oscar Tshiebwe. Castleton is taking him out of the game offensively. Other guys have to continue to step up.
Frederick looking again. Frederick had a run-in with a great shooter before the game. That's Lee Humphrey on Florida's radio crew. Frederick drives, and now with the left, and Castleton the rebound. Lee doesn't waste any time. He is a basketball junkie, and pregame when the teams were off the floor, he got a ball in his hand, was out there shooting, and
he was making.
Yeah, he was making.
Big possession for Florida right now to keep this thing in single digits, keep game pressure on Kentucky. They continue to double team him. What a cut.
Good, beautiful feed to Kugel. Gets his 2nd field goal.
No matter where Colin Castleton gets doubled, you have to make Kentucky pay. Whether it's a spray 3 or a burn the cut to a backdoor layup, really well done by Florida.
2 shooters on the floor right now for Kentucky. Toppin fray, and now Oscar. And no whistle as Reeves went hard into him. And Florida lost in that scenario defensively.
Going to be a slugfest to the finish. There's too much at stake. Two teams fighting for their NCAA life right now. Look at Wheeler bringing the ball. You cannot backpedal and stop the ball at the same time. Sprint, get your butt to the baseline, delete the drive. Wheeler says they're not going to do it. Thank you very much. I'll make you pay. And then the three from C.J. Frederick, the pin down after the dribble handoff by Toppin frees him up. Number one is seeing a really clean rim right now.
48-40, Kentucky the lead over Florida. The NBA follows the NFL Pro Bowl games on ESPN tomorrow. Joel Embiid and the Sixers are at the Garden to take on Julius Randle and the Knicks at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific on ESPN and the app. Randle, one of 3 Kentucky All-Stars this season, and how about his tear over the last 7 games? Nearly 28 points a game and almost 12 boards.
Yeah, joins Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Bam Adebayo as NBA All-Stars. He is a force, right? In Rupp Arena, he was a man amongst boys most of the time when he was on the floor. Goes screen for Toppin.
Lost the dribble, but able to recover.
Tom, you have to force the ball to where the ghost guy is running to, because he's emptying out that side, and if you don't, Toppin's going to get that ball just with a clean rip and go right down the side on you. It's a hard play to handle, but ghost, ghost, ghost. You got to know where you're forcing the ball on that ghost action by Kentucky.
Lofton turns a corner. And a foul inside will go against Toppin, I believe, and put Richard at the free throw line. It's the 3rd on Jacob Toppin. And it put Will Richard at the free throw line.
Richard at the line for 2.
Richard 2 of 2 from the free throw line tonight. Southern Hoops, a history of SEC basketball, is a 7-part documentary airing every Monday through March 13th on the SEC Network and the app. Part 2 is this Monday night. Take you back to the 60s, including the 1966 NCAA final, Texas Western over Kentucky, and the incredible career of Pistol Pete Maravich. Richard goes 1 of 2 from the line.
Have you been watching those?
Yes, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
And I'm so shocked at some of the footage that they have from back then.
Tremendous.
Jason Wallace with the jumper. I just thought it was pretty cool listening to you call some of those games at Pistol Pete.
You know, I'm going to meet Pistol Pete's wife the next time I do a game at LSU. Weren't you with me that night? We did the Pistol Pete ball handling drills.
Yeah, she was so impressed that I thought it was really sweet. She was impressed that you just doing those drills helping keep that legacy alive.
Yes, either that or she's going to tell me the way you did the drills wasn't even close to how my husband did the drills.
Yeah, take this VHS and please relearn them.
Kentucky with a lot of 15-foot jump shots, Tom, in this game because of the drop coverage of Castleton. They're there. You got to continue to take them and make them.
Loose ball. And Wallace tied him up. Possession error will keep it on this side of the floor.
He is wicked on the ball. Talking about Cason Wallace. Wicked in his effort and his body, his hand strength and hand speed. Stays low. He's like a linebacker, just reading the line of scrimmage and attacking that basketball.
6'4", 193. Great build and uses it. Castleton fading and got it to go.
What a tough shot. Castleton has to drive Tshiebwe when he has the opportunity, but Tshiebwe did a good job. Good defense, better offense.
Florida has made so many runs, but unable to really close the gap on Kentucky. Here's Tshiebwe. Shares it to Livingston, and a foul before the Castleton block. Charged to Alex Fudge.
With Castleton, man, he's such a hard guard because he can drive the ball from 24, 25 feet, and that's a tough shot, man. He's going away from the rim, do a little bit of contact, and he's good enough by himself to keep Florida in this game.
First free throw attempt of the night for Livingston. And that's his first point of the night. And Livingston knocks them both down.
You mentioned Tshiebwe's heart for the Lord, his heart for other people. About Colin Castle, I love the story he told me that his NIL money for Christmas, he said, what I did, I took it and bought my mom a brand new vacuum cleaner, about a $400 vacuum. He said something that she really wanted, couldn't afford to get for herself. I just love those kind of guys, man. I think about others.
Livingston with the left hand.
I love athletes like Livingston too, man. Another guy you don't run plays for, you just turn him loose, wind him up, and let him go.
Kentucky pressuring in the backcourt.
Don't foul if you're Wheeler. Don't compound. You've got great effort.
Kugel drives up to the screen and drew the foul on Frederick, his second.
Kentucky's defense has been lit in this game several times. You can get hot defensively just like offensively. Wheeler comes from behind with that ball pressure, and Livingston's the benefactor of it. And his ability to drive that ball and make hard layups, I've been very impressed with him. Even when we were back here in October for Pro Day, his ability to make plays like that just jump out.
Here's Riley Kugel, four-star recruit out of Dr. Phillips in Orlando. Another one coming for Kugel. Good free throw shooting night for the Gators.
Yeah, 10 out of 12 now, right? My math is correct.
Didn't know there was room for an abacus on your jet.
Well, they were 9 out of 11 prior to that last miss, so you put your one down, and, yeah.
Here's Wallace. And one coming.
I know those are sometimes tough shots to take, but the way Florida is playing defensively and their two-point defense has been so good all year, Tom, you've got to come off those screens. Bam, hard ball screen. And Wallace sees a really good open rim at the 15-foot mark. You got to have the courage, the toughness, and the confidence to jump up and stroke it.
Wallace makes it a three-point play.
Good shot between the two Kentucky.
Yeah, did you figure out the case of the missing pom-poms?
No, the Kentucky cheerleaders had two pom-poms stolen in their pregame warm-up today. And I'm on it. I'm trying to help all I can. I don't want to mess with Kentucky's cheerleaders. They just surround sound defense, right?
And it's off the mark, and then Fudge has it stripped away. Would you say you're a Hardy boy or more like Encyclopedia Brown?
I don't know. I'm actually a pilot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'd like to see who's got a ride on your jet. That's coming up. All right, time to step on to Jimmy's jet. You got a new pilot, guys. Straight from Top Gun. Who you got?
You look good in those. Hey, Alabama and Tennessee still up there in first class. I know Tennessee had a loss. They're going to hang in there. Missouri with a loss today. They're in business class now. They can slide back to coach if they're not careful. At the back of the plane currently, Auburn with a tough loss today had a really hard call not go their way. There's an obvious foul at the end. Arkansas wins it closer to South Carolina to stay in that coach section. Kentucky on the back row of the plane right now. This is where they are. And Texas A&M and Florida on that standby list. But Florida has made up a lot of ground just with that win over Tennessee. They went from outside security. They've at least cleared security trying to plead their case. And those are the numbers right now. They're 2-7 against quad one wins. But the stretch that they're in right now, man, can they come back and win this one? If not, can they get one at Alabama next week? Would be huge for their case.
Looking at what Florida has remaining, what is most important for them? Finding more quad ones or just piling up the wins in the SEC? Because they'll have opportunities for that. And with those wins, they would stay in the top half of the league. Lofton rattles one home.
Florida, by the way, has been tremendous out of timeouts against Tennessee and again tonight. To your point, you got to win the games you're supposed to win. You can't have bad losses right now if you're Florida, but you got to find a way to beat an Alabama, at Arkansas, or Kentucky at home to continue to give you hope.
They've essentially played to expectations and won the games they were supposed to. Yeah. Frederick challenge on the three, and the Tennessee win was a huge one that will get the committee's attention, certainly, knocking off the second-ranked team in the country. It's a foul on Castleton, his second.
Frederick taking it out. You have to always be aware of him as the out-of-bounds under guy on these out-of-bound plays.
Did you see what he did right before he got the ball? He motioned out to the referee, Todd Austin, said, you know he hit my hand, right?
Yeah, sure.
I'm a shooter. I don't miss that poorly without being fouled. And another poor entry pass.
He is the best post feeder on the floor for Kentucky, but that time, again, 2 times in this half, they tried to feed Oscar Tshiebwe the ball knee level and lower.
Maybe I had a bad angle, but he was saying they got kicked out of bounds by Florida.
Good job by Wheeler to jump under and not get clipped on that ball screen, because he gets clipped a lot on film.
Castleton trying to shake Tshiebwe, and he'll go to the free throw line.
Talk about it. Jacob Toppin with a spin move. Castleton so quick. And once he faces up, man, his footwork is tremendous, keeping Florida in this game, Tom. Defensively, he has been a real problem for Tshiebwe to deal with. And he's got that jump hook down. He can make plays over the top of Tshiebwe right now. He made 8 out of 8 free throws against Tennessee on Wednesday, going back to the line right now. But how Todd Golden has moved him around this year has really developed this young man's game.
15 points for him. He said that his progress over the last few years was really jump-started with his move from Michigan. He said, I learned a lot from the upperclassmen there. I learned how to be a leader, but that wasn't my role. And then I got to Florida. I had the ball in my hands a lot. People were looking up to me. I was a go-to guy, and I felt like that made me more of a leader on the court.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. He told me that their game last Saturday at Kansas State was the toughest environment he's played in college basketball.
Yeah.
Not Auburn, not Kentucky, not at Arkansas, at Kansas State. Man, does Jerome Tang have a real team right now, the Wildcats.
Kugel blocked with 2 hands by Cason Wallace.
How good has Wallace been at the rim defensively in this game?
Frederick can't hit the transition 3, and Toppin finds it. Kentucky shooting 58% from the floor in the second half.
Pinned down for Frederick to work off of again.
You mentioned early in the season, Jimmy, when Kentucky was really struggling, that even though people were pointing at the offense, it was the defensive numbers that were so terrible. Well, the last 6 games, they've been a top 15 defensive team.
Well, because of the bigger lineup, for the most part, that Cal has gone with. They've kind of backed their pressure off a little bit and really tough from that 3-point line and down. Because they were brutal defensively for a while.
Whoa.
And there's enough possessions for Florida. They cannot turn this ball over anymore. Florida, uncharacteristic with some turnovers tonight. Just they need clean possessions with 5:20 to go, and nothing cleaner than Castleton, who can go get his own.
Down a touchdown now with former Florida football star Chris Doering in the building tonight after his last-second catch against the Cats years ago. Wallace finds Tshiebwe. Good look by Wheeler, but Florida all over. And they'll let Wheeler let this one go. Track down his own miss, and he got a layup out of it.
Yeah, he's had a burst tonight in the open floor down the half court that Florida has not been able to stay in front of.
Jones, that cut off, and then got loose. He just lost it.
Tommy can't leave the ball. You can never leave the ball. And Kentucky just ran off and left the basketball, and Jones with an easy one to keep game pressure on Kentucky with 4:31 to go.
Timeout on the floor. We'll take it with them. It's a 7-point game late at Rupp.
Several times in this game, Castleton has been the pressure release for Florida. He can flash and catch the ball anytime he wants to against Tshiebwe to keep the offense moving, but he can also do stuff off the bounce. And Wheeler with a follow, the ball gets tipped out, and look at that, bam, right there. Just another little burst by Wheeler, who's played a good game. Now, what is he, 4 out of 5 from the floor and 3 assists. A spark plug off the bench has Wheeler been tonight.
Born to play basketball. His parents first met at Rucker Park. And If you don't come out holding the basketball after that, something's wrong.
Floppy action for Frederick again. Just chase it out, but it ultimately ends up in a post touch for Tshiebwe.
He got it deep. Then he took it low. No 3-second call. Todd Golden beside himself. Toppin puts it on the floor and gets a whistle on the drive.
I'm with Todd Golden, man. Tshiebwe got that ball inside. Pivot, pivot, pivot. Fumbles around with it. And that 3-second count's got to stay on. 1001, 1002. I guess the ball came out of his hands, and maybe why the call got interrupted.
Should only start over on a shot attempt. Here's Frederick now. Toppin spun into trouble. Wheeler dumps it in. Beautiful pass. Doors open for Florida.
Run the offense through 12. There's that empty corner that they love to get with Castleton. Yeah, that's really good action. It's hard to guard. It's an empty corner, so there's no help to rotate over to Colin Castleton.
And now that's the 4th on Oscar Tshiebwe. Gators riding Castleton. Is it enough for a comeback late in this one? All right, appreciate it. Good job from the law firm of Connors, Crispin, and Crean back in the studio. How about double C, Colin Castleton?
Yeah, Crispin and Crean sounds like a donut shop waiting to happen. First of all, the empty corner for Colin Castleton. Just keep it simple. Keep it a two-man game. You've got Castleton with a forceful roll. There's no help because Toppin is hugged up on the weak side. Keep it simple. Make a play over the top. Stop the clock. Get to the line. Really good action again by Todd Golden playing through Colin Castleton.
Kentucky had its largest lead at 59-45. Since then, Florida's outscored them 10-2, and a big part of that is Castleton's second half, and much more efficient for the Florida big.
What a massive opportunity for Florida right now with 3:36 to go. You go win at Kentucky after knocking off Tennessee earlier this week. Find yourself on the back row of that jet.
Big screen from Tshiebwe. Here's Frederick now. Great ball pressure by Florida. Maybe that's why those entry passes have been off. Tshiebwe on Castleton. Frederick tees it up. And Toppin gets it. And Kentucky will pull it out with 3 minutes to play. Up 5.
Florida's inability to clean up that miss. Same thing that happened off of Wheeler's miss 3. Crucial.
Cats are +6 on the glass. Near steal. It'll stay this way. Only 6 seconds left on the shot clock. Where does Kentucky go in the half court?
Well, you'd love to drive the ball if you can get Wheeler going downhill. Can you pin down for C.J. Frederick? At the end of the day, Florida, you have to clean up this miss right now with under 3 to go if there is one.
13 offensive rebounds for the Cats. Shot clock at 3. Now 2. Wallace for 3.
Huge. He is so strong. There's a lot of contact on that play, but it doesn't knock Wallace off of his path. Stays on balance. Rise, release, result. Man, was that important.
2.5 to play. Gators down 8. Open 3, Richard. Wide open. He doesn't miss those.
And how did he get open? I don't know if there's an elevator screen or what, but just sprinted to that 3-point line to answer the 3 from Cason Wallace.
Wallace downhill. Toppin steps through. He's got another double-double. It's 17 points and 10 boards for Jacob Toppin tonight.
Yeah, he's been the MIG tonight, the most important guy for Kentucky.
Gators can't afford just to trade baskets.
No, they cannot. Got to go through Castleton.
Working on Tshiebwe. Got him deep. And he'll go to the line.
Just keeping it simple. You run a little bit of action, but at the end of the day, just isolation for Castleton. Tom, let him go to work.
And that's the 5th on Oscar Tshiebwe. He fouls out with only 4 points.
Look at Colin Castleton. He's so good off the bounce. He's 6'11", but man, does he play low with the ball and keeps his self-balance and keeps the ball between his legs so you can't get to it. And even through the contact of Tshiebwe, just the toughness. Man, time and time again tonight, Tom, he has been patient but conservative. And that's not an easy thing for a big guy to do. A lot of times they get conservative and they kind of back off the gas. Not Colin Castleton in this game. A phenomenal balance between those two words.
Kentucky fans thought they saw a walk from Castleton. He's already plus 18 head-to-head with Tshiebwe in this one. And only one of them will be on the floor for the final 138. Castleton has made his last 15 free throws. .21 points for Colin Castleton.
He won his battle tonight at that 5 position against Tshiebwe, and as we know, that is not easy to do.
Now Florida needs a stop.
And they need a defensive rebound to finish the possession has been their problem.
Tennessee had 18 offensive rebounds the other night. No rebound there as Wallace finishes. He's got 18 and 5 of them late.
That is so good for Calipari to get the ball in Cason Wallace and say drive that ball because they're not going to come off the corner.
Castleton off the spin. Quick timeout taken by Todd Golden.
You cannot have a better on the road performance than Colin Castleton is doing right now. Just outworking everyone that's assigned to him. Watch Colin Castleton just carrying a lot of wood right now in this game. They get him off of a ball screen action again. Damian Collins not strong enough to keep Castleton from that scoring point. And there's what John Calipari saw. You're going to get a guy tucked in the corner, Severe Wheeler, a guy you could come off of. Florida doesn't do it. And Wallace sees a little bit of a gap. Strong finish with a left paw.
Coming up next, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific, or thereabouts. Great West Coast Conference rivalry between number 12 Gonzaga and 18th ranked St. Mary's caps the day's broadcast of 6 games here on ESPN, including the upset of number 1 as Indiana knocked off Purdue at Assembly Hall. Great matchup tonight between two fantastic offensive teams, including Gonzaga, number 1 in the country, 86 points a game.
And St. Mary's has a top 10 defense as well. I'm talking to Sean Farnham earlier today, who's going to be on the call. He said the biggest concern for St. Mary's is avoid the droughts. They've had a lot of games right now where they go through a 4, 5, 6 minute drought. Cannot have that tonight against Gonzaga. But another arena like we've seen all day long on our air that's going to be absolutely on fire.
No doubt. Well, Lenardi currently has St. Mary's as a 6 seed, and if the seeds hold, that could be a first-round matchup with an 11 seed Kentucky team.
Yeah, wow.
Golden played at St. Mary's. Was talking to him about Chris Doering at shoot-around today. He goes, what I love about Doering, that guy came in as a walk-on. I was a walk-on. The love for guys who come out and prove their worth and earn the scholarship.
Florida only 4 fouls they can afford. It should be very aggressive right now.
Wallace splits the pressure, then a reach-in stops the clock. It's a first on Kyle Lofton.
Only the 15th foul, though. Forcing Kentucky to take that ball out of bounds again. And keep the pressure up if you're Florida.
A little bit different now for Kentucky in the last minute and a half without Oscar Tshiebwe on the floor. Collins playing the 5. And there's the double at midcourt, and a timeout taken by Cason Wallace.
That is a 30-second timeout.
4-point game, under a minute to play. The support from you, the ESPN fans, our ESPN employees and partners. Our 2022 V-Week initiative helped raise more than $15.5 million to the V Foundation for Cancer Research. It set a V-Week fundraising record with a 17% increase over last year. Remember, 100% of every dollar you donated goes directly to cancer research and will help save lives. Thank you for all of your help.
Well, sometimes things are just supposed to happen, and number 22, Cason Wallace, to be the leading scorer in this game for Kentucky on the night that we hang 22 Mike Pratt.
Yep.
He has been really good and strong with the ball. He's going to have to be it again because Florida that time, they forced Kentucky to take a timeout, didn't have to foul to do it, so they still have a foul to give and be really hard and aggressive with their pressure. Get after, there you go, get after that ball.
And they track Toppin down and commit the foul. That is the second and the 6th team foul.
Tom, this kid plays with such great strength on both ends. His rim defense tonight has saved Kentucky probably 6 points for sure off the top of my head. But he has brought that ball with force. He's got speed that is faster in person than he looks on film. He makes plays through contact, and Kentucky's needed every one of his baskets tonight.
Saving him 6 points in a 4-point game. That's a winning difference. Castleton commits his 3rd, and now finally Kentucky will be at the free throw line. Myron Jones returns for Florida. Gators 4 of 10 from 3 in the second half. Their shooting improved dramatically after the intermission, but they just couldn't get stops on Kentucky consistently. Here's Damian Collins at the free throw line.
And Florida forced the ball to Collins, who that's only his 5th free throw attempt in SEC play. Those are the kind of guys you want to test right now. See if they can close out a game.
Todd Golden said there's more pressure on Kentucky in this game. We're playing with house money. Kentucky did not play scared or timid tonight. Collins, 2 huge free throws.
I'm just telling you, when it's February the 4th and you're not sitting there looking like a 1, 2, a 3, or a 4 seed and you're fighting for your life, there's pressure on both teams. Now, I know what Todd was saying, but good minutes by Damian Collins tonight, who's starting to every game impact Kentucky in a positive way.
3 for 4 from the free throw line. Getting late for Florida. Jones trying to hit it over Toppin. Got him! First 3 of the night for Myron Jones. It's a 1-possession game, 36 seconds to play.
One of those have to shoot it. And it goes in.
That was a quick whistle. Lofton thought they had a chance for a trap. It's a second on Jones.
Myron Jones has been so tight with the ball in SEC play. Doesn't turn it over at all. Has not been a great shooter, but sometimes you just got to let it fly. Toppin there, a little bit of a mismatch, and Jones stepped back just enough to create some space. And a 3-point game with Toppin now going to the line.
First free throw attempt of the night for Jacob Toppin. What an amazing day of college basketball throughout the country and here on ESPN. And this one coming down the wire. Gators trail by 3. Half a minute to play at a sold-out Rupp Arena. Lofton gives it up. Here's Castleton with a touch. And a trap in the corner. Jones is nowhere to go. Castleton gives it back to him. A forced 3, way off the mark with plenty of time left on the clock.
Bad possession by Florida. You got plenty of time to get that ball in. Colin Castleton, let him drive and nothing else, get himself to the free throw line. They're out of timeouts, but you've got to have an understanding as a team of what's going on. You're down 3, that ball gets stuck on the side, and just another forced effort by Florida. Now, terrific job by Kentucky with a late game defense to communicate, switch out high, and keep the pressure on the ball, but a disaster of an offensive possession by the Gators.
Indeed, Wallace with 18 points. Perfect from the line to make it a 2-possession game.
22 has been good on 22's night.
Yep. Points for Wallace. Mike Pratt's 22 in the Raptors for the first time with a spotlight on him. And Cason Wallace has shined under the lights tonight. Jones, and that one will go over the backboard and out of bounds. And this Kentucky season, Jimmy Dykes, left for dead after the South Carolina loss. They are back from the brink.
I still think defensively is where they've really turned the corner. They put 72 points on the board tonight against a really good Florida defense. So the offense is starting to grow as well. John Calipari understands how to push the right buttons, and huge game coming up in here on Tuesday night against Arkansas for Kentucky to keep their mojo alive.
72-67, our final at Rupp Arena. The Cats go to 7-3 in the conference. They've won 5 out of 6. Florida will have to try and regroup after their big win against Tennessee midweek. That's a story from here in the Commonwealth. Let's take it to the West Coast. Alongside Sean Farnham, here's Dave Fleming for a monster matchup between Gonzaga and St. Mary's.